John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing, May 19th, 2019. Across the country last week, you can see we had some precipitation over a number of areas. This area right here, I want to bring to your attention, that produced some flooding coming down the upper Mississippi, a secondary crest, not nearly as high as the first crest. Matter of fact, if we look at where that occurred here, you can see it occurred in Iowa. And really, I sort of want to bring your focus to this area right in here for a number of perspectives: an excessive rainfall and flood risk. But I also want to focus on the risks to agriculture in this area with very wet fields due to excessive rainfall. So as far as the Mississippi goes, because of that rain in Iowa that I just mentioned, we do have a crest coming down the river here. Secondary crest is not nearly as high as the first crest. You know, it's not likely that we're going to get anywhere near that first crest, which was very high, major, or record. I don't want those to be famous last words. I think we've got to be very vulnerable to this, very aware of the risk, because we do have repeated rain coming there. But from a statistical standpoint, it's not likely that we'll get there. But with that, I'm going to maintain that high degree of keeping an eye on things. And then this stretch of the river is falling, and then this is near a crest. So what we've had, if we sort of look through the spring so far, we had the first pulse of water come down here, second one, snow melt come down here, then this was activated, then I believe we had another batch down here, and then more down here, and now it looks like this is coming in. So the net result is we've really had one reinforcing flow of water after another coming into the Mississippi, so it's remained high for a long time now. So we do have a vulnerability to wet soils in areas in dark green or blue, and that's why I said we have to be very vigilant in this area here, the upper Mississippi, because soils are wet in many spots. I don't think this model has sort of added in this area from the recent rain. So anything that's falling over that is more prone for excessive amounts of runoff. So temperatures over the last week here, we've had a temperature contrast, and it's going to be sort of reversing itself, but it's still going to be this temperature contrast. You can see soils have warmed up ahead of that front. We have some really moist air and warm air from the Gulf pushing north, and you're going to see just a minute how this soil moisture profile matches the dew point as that moist air pushes north. We also have behind the current weather system over the middle part of the U.S. some really gusty winds over the central part of the U.S. So what's causing all this? Well, we have a temperature and moisture boundary here, just as we did last week. You can see it very clear, 70 dew points, 60 dew points, a very moist air mass here, very dry air mass here. Right along this boundary, what we have is the clash of these air masses and enhancement of precipitation. We also have aloft, we have some atmospheric energy. We have a number of pulses coming through here, and each one of these pulses is moving out of the southwest and is ejecting up towards the northeast, and we see some enhanced wind shear with these jets, and that is why you're going to see a moderate risk of severe storms, and that includes tornadoes in the convective outlook. Okay, so let's dig into the forecast here. And what we have here is we have this dip in the jet stream over the west and a bulging north of the jet stream over the east, and right between these is going to be the zone of action of where we're going to see most of our weather over the next week or two. Now it does look like as we get into week 2 it diminishes a bit, but it's still there. So we can see as far as our temperatures go, very strong contrasting temperatures, very cool air in this area here, very warm air in this area. But with time, those areas, those cores are still there. It's just that they diminish a bit with time. So we do have a very active weather pattern. We have one system moving through right now, late this weekend or through the weekend. Here's your second system early this week, and this is going to produce a serious risk for severe weather, including tornadoes over parts of the middle U.S. In addition to that, we're looking at very, very heavy rainfall from parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, surrounding states up to the north, and this area right here is around 7 inches of rain or more. We have 5 to 7 in this area right here. So definitely a very heavy rain risk and flood risk in those areas. Now, if you're interested in where the boundary will be, where this water is all going, here are your boundaries right here. And this is the Mississippi's on this side. Anything on here goes into the Missouri. Most of it's in the Missouri here, so I think we're going to really activate a flood crest coming down the Missouri in this region. And also, we're going to continue to keep these Iowa tributaries running quite high, which will maintain high flows on the Mississippi. Now, if you want to take a look at the model, this is a European model out for the next couple weeks, just to give you an idea of where the action will be. Very clear here of where that action is, right over the middle part of the U.S., right in this axis, right in here. And this does not look good for Iowa as far as agriculture, field operations this time of year. With additional heavy rain, we actually get some in the western corn belt, so it's not looking good overall over parts of the Midwest ag regions due to excessive rainfall. And that's also going to maintain the flood threat as we go forward. Matter of fact, week 2, right smack in the same spot, we're looking at, I think this is the 3rd week in a row, right in this area. Okay, it's extended forecast. Remember I mentioned the cool air and the warm air? That boundary is what's the culprit behind all this active weather. Well, look at this. Week 2, cool and warm. Not much change. Southeast U.S., Mid-Atlantic, unusually warm and also unusually dry. And right through the 6 to 12 day, right in the middle part of the nation, heavy rain. So like we saw last week, lots of impacts. Let's start with some of the temperatures. Cool, unusually warm. But really the more severe precipitation impacts and severe storm impacts over the middle U.S., severe threat over the next 3 days, especially tomorrow. Moderate risk over Oklahoma, parts of North Texas, Texas Panhandle into Kansas. And then on Tuesday, slight risk, but moving eastward. Excessive rainfall, moderate risk in this region right here. This is where the best bet for flash flooding, urban flooding, pooling of water, tributary flooding. And then as we get into Tuesday in this region here. So rivers in this area here, anywhere in any of these shaded spots, either flooding or potential for flooding. So overall, very active week, severe storms, excessive rainfall, flooding over the middle part of the U.S., and it looks like this could continue into week 2 as well. That's the weather briefing for this week. Hope you monitor the storms and severe weather if you're in that area. Take care.